Hello everyone, welcome to Spellbound Stories, where I share with you the most fascinating and mysterious tales from history and mythology. I'm your host Black, and today we are going to explore one of the most legendary and elusive civilizations of all time, Atlantis. Atlantis was a powerful and advanced island that Plato described in his dialogues, but its existence and location have been debated for centuries. Was Atlantis a real place or a myth? How did it rise to become a naval empire that conquered many lands? What caused its downfall and destruction in a single day and night? And where can we find the traces of its lost glory? These are some of the questions that we will try to answer in this video, as we dive deep into the story of Atlantis, the rise and fall of a lost empire. But before we begin, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell icon, so you don't miss any of our spellbinding videos. We upload 2 videos every week on Mondays and Thursdays, so stay tuned for more amazing content. Are you ready to join me on this epic journey? Then let's get started. Part 1. The Origin and History of Atlantis. Atlantis was a legendary island that Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher, mentioned in his dialogues Timaeus and Critias. According to Plato, Atlantis was founded by the god Poseidon, who fell in love with a mortal woman named Cleito. He gave her a hill in the middle of the island and surrounded it with rings of water and land. He also gave her 10 sons, who became the first kings of Atlantis. The eldest son, Atlas, was the supreme ruler of the island, and gave it his name. Atlantis was a prosperous and advanced civilization, with a rich culture and a powerful army and navy. It had a magnificent capital city, with temples, palaces, gardens, and fountains. It also had a central plain where crops and animals were abundant. The Atlanteans worshipped Poseidon and his wife Amphitrite, and followed a code of laws that he gave them. They were also skilled in arts, sciences, and crafts, and had access to precious metals and stones. Atlantis expanded its territory by conquering parts of Europe and Africa, and became a naval empire that dominated the Atlantic Ocean. It was respected and feared by other nations, and had many allies and tributaries. However, it also became corrupted and greedy, and forgot the wisdom and virtue that Poseidon had taught them. They started to oppress and enslave other peoples, and to defy the gods with their arrogance and violence. Part 2. The War with Athens. One of the nations that Atlantis tried to invade was ancient Athens, the city that was favored by the goddess Athena, the patron of wisdom and justice. Athens was a democracy, where the citizens had equal rights and duties, and valued freedom and education. Athens was also a leader of the Greek city-states, and had a strong military and cultural influence in the region. The war between Atlantis and Athens was a clash of 2 different civilizations, one that represented tyranny and decadence, and the other that represented democracy and virtue. Plato described the war in detail in his dialogue Critias, but he never finished it, leaving the outcome unknown. However, according to some ancient sources, the Athenians managed to defeat the Atlanteans with the help of other Greek allies. They repelled the invasion and liberated the lands that Atlantis had occupied. They also preserved their own way of life and became a model for other nations to follow. The war with Athens was a turning point for Atlantis, as it marked the beginning of its decline and downfall. The Atlanteans had angered the gods with their hubris and injustice, and had to face their wrath and punishment. Part 3. The Downfall and Destruction of Atlantis. According to Plato, the downfall and destruction of Atlantis happened in a single day and night, around 9600 BC. He wrote that Zeus, the king of the gods, gathered the other gods to discuss the fate of Atlantis. He decided to send a great earthquake and flood that would submerge the island into the ocean and erase it from the face of the earth. He also wanted to teach a lesson to the other nations, and to warn them not to repeat the mistakes of Atlantis. The earthquake and flood that Zeus sent were so powerful and devastating that they changed the geography and climate of the world. The Atlantic Ocean became impassable and unexplored, and the memory of Atlantis faded away. Only a few survivors escaped the catastrophe and carried the story of Atlantis to other lands. Some of them settled in Egypt, where they passed the story to the priests, who later told it to Solon, the Greek lawmaker and poet, who then told it to his relative Critias, who then told it to Plato, who then wrote it down for posterity. The story of Atlantis was a tragic and cautionary tale that showed the consequences of human folly and divine justice. It also raised many questions and mysteries that intrigued and fascinated generations of readers and seekers. Part 4. The Location and Evidence of Atlantis. One of the most enduring questions and mysteries about Atlantis is its location and evidence. Where was Atlantis located, and is there any proof that it existed in reality? Plato gave some clues and details about the location and size of Atlantis, but they were vague and contradictory. He said that Atlantis was larger than Libya and Asia combined, and that it was situated beyond the Pillars of Hercules, which are usually identified with the Strait of Gibraltar, the passage between the Mediterranean Sea and the Atlantic Ocean. However, he also said that Atlantis was in front of the mouth of the river Oceanus, which was a mythical river that encircled the world, according to the ancient Greeks. Many scholars and explorers have tried to find Atlantis, or at least to identify a possible location that matched Plato's description. Some of the proposed locations include the Atlantic Ocean, the Mediterranean Sea, the Caribbean Sea, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, and even Antarctica. Some of the candidates include the Azores, the Canary Islands, the Bahamas, Cuba, Santorini, Crete, Malta, Cyprus, Troy, and many others. However, none of these locations have provided conclusive and convincing evidence that they were Atlantis, or that they had any connection with Plato's story. Some people have suggested that Atlantis was not a real place but a myth or a metaphor that Plato used to convey his philosophical and political ideas. They argued that Plato invented Atlantis as a contrast to his ideal city, the Republic, and as a warning to his own society, which was facing corruption and decline. They also pointed out that there was no mention of Atlantis in any other ancient source, apart from Plato and his followers. However, some people have claimed that Atlantis was a real place, and that Plato based his story on historical facts and events that he learned from reliable sources. They argued that Plato was a serious and credible writer who would not make up such a detailed and elaborate story without any basis or purpose. They also pointed out that there were some similarities and parallels between Atlantis and other ancient civilizations, such as Egypt, Minoan Crete, Mycenaean Greece, and Phoenicia, that could support the existence and influence of Atlantis. The question of the location and evidence of Atlantis remains unresolved and controversial, and it is likely that it will never be settled definitively. However, it is also possible that new discoveries and investigations will shed more light and insight on this ancient and enigmatic mystery. Conclusion. Atlantis, the rise and fall of a lost empire, is one of the most captivating and mysterious stories of all time. It is a story that has inspired and challenged many people, from ancient times to modern times, from philosophers and poets to scientists and adventurers. It is a story that has sparked our imagination and curiosity and has made us wonder about the secrets and mysteries of the past, the present, and the future. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below. What do you think about Atlantis? Do you believe it was real or not? Where do you think it was located? And what do you think happened to it? I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Spellbound Stories and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our spellbinding videos. We upload 2 videos every week on Mondays and Thursdays, so stay tuned for more amazing content. Until next time, this is Black, signing off. Remember, the truth is out there, and the adventure is waiting for you. Goodbye, and see you soon.